Is it weird? I'm always, I was on Levitard. He's like, what are you writing right now? I'm like, I don't use my phone to take notes. I write. Oh, that's why I wrote on the toilet paper the other day.
If I write it down, I'll remember it better than if I type it.
Same. My brain cannot transfer over.
Yeah. And my son doesn't know what cursive is. That's today's education system. So sad. My mom only writes in cursive. And she wrote him a card for the start of school. And he was like, I have no idea what this says. I was like, what do you mean?
What grandma is saying.
Because my mom does. Yeah. But what is BB writing me? Welcome into Scoop City. I am James Palmer. Today, on a Wednesday, we have some quarterbacks finding their way to the right seat during musical chairs. We have a big news dump on this Wednesday with some suspensions, some contracts, some moves. We'll get to all of those. We also, Dianna, we're going to be pairing up coaches, new coaches, first-year head coaches with favorite TV shows that we have. Don't forget to like and subscribe here at Scoop City. Dianna, how are you doing?
I am so good. I can't believe you went through an entire, minute there of the show open and didn't even mention the big news of the world, which is the engagement of Travis and Taylor. What was your reaction?
Well, I did what every other media member does, and I made it about myself.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So I saw everybody going, posting, remember when I did this or whatever. And so I posted a picture of Travis and I having a ha-ha laugh on the sideline of a game, I think in Jacksonville it was 6 years ago. Mm. And somebody snapped a photo of me telling Travis something hilarious, I guess, because he's dying laughing. But I put a little bubble up there above my head and I put, no, man, I'm serious. You're going to marry Taylor Swift in 6 years. So I made it about me.
That. You did.
Like so many people do.
Well, I felt like there were shots fired there because you're obviously referencing what I did, which if you're not, just play dumb and act like you didn't see what I posted. I retweeted when Taylor was at MetLife for a game between the Chiefs and the Jets. And she was there in the tunnel. And it was the first time that I realized that sports media approaches celebrities different than paparazzi, right? So when she was in the tunnel, it would be silent. It was so weird because when you're covering sports, you're not like, Patrick, over here. Like you don't yell at the players. You just go up to them with your camera. Yeah. So she was walking through the tunnel and we're all like, well, what do we do now? And she said it. She's like, it's so quiet. Because no one, what am I going to say, right?
Yeah.
Well, Dianna Russini here. Like, there's...
Can I get a quote about the latest album?
Not even that. What do you think of the teeth?
I did that in Kansas City for a number of games, and I got millions of views on my Instagram. We're just stalking her entering. And I was like, how is this even happening? She's just walking into a stadium. But, man, the views were in the millions.
I know. I think I was on Extra the next day. I remember being like, I made it.
It was nuts.
I made it.
It was nuts. I did botch. I'll say this. I know we're dragging on here, but I did botch something this past season. I was on the sideline for a preseason game. I'm talking to my good friend, Michelle Beisner-Buck, and Michelle says, we're standing on the sideline. Hey, would your son want a Taylor Swift pic? She just gave me a handful of pics with her picture on it. And I was like, yeah, my son is a Swiftie through and through. He's 12. And I put it in my pocket. And I get home the next day and I go to give it to him. Gone.
Come on.
I lost it. I don't know. So I guess I do have something to say to Taylor Swift next time I see her. Can I have another pic with your face on it? Yeah. But let's get into what we're talking about here. We're going to talk about maybe some Taylor Swift stories a little bit more, maybe in the C block. We'll save that towards the end. We got a new starter in New Orleans, Dianna, at the quarterback position. The quarterback position at the Browns, the quarterback room, well, it's been figured out just a little bit. We also, I mentioned, we're going to talk about these first-year head coaches, what we're hearing about them in their first year with their new organizations. So let's get to some other news, though, and everything that we're hearing. What are we hearing, Dianna, around the league? Well, the first thing is a big, massive deal for Ravens safety Kyle Hamilton. A little over $100 million 4-year deal. I just wrote this down. $48 million fully guaranteed. $82 million injury guaranteed. 26 at signing. 43 new money through the first year. This is a massive deal.
It is. I love that they put it out, right? They had full control over that. They're like, we're going to let the world know about our guy. The Baltimore Ravens Twitter handle were the ones who put out that information. But on the show, we often talk about players that aren't very good. And we usually just use a very simple word around here on Scoop City. If the guy's not good and we just say he stinks, like, yeah, he stinks.
There it is.
The opposite version of that is he's good.
Yeah.
Kyle Hamilton is good. This makes all the sense in the world. I remember when he even started in the league writing about him in one of my columns, and just how the coaches kept kind of warning us, so to speak, of wait to see this kid, wait to see how good he is.
Yeah.
And he certainly has panned out, you know?
Yeah, panned out is a good way to put it. I was always told he was a chess piece, and if he was a chess piece on defense, he'd be the queen. He can do everything. You can put him everywhere, the most powerful piece on a chessboard. He would know that because he's qualified for Mensa. That's how smart he is. He's an interesting person and a tremendous football player, and this is well-deserved as defenses continue to adjust to the way the offenses have evolved.
Ravens, another team that we talk about sometimes that we don't give enough love to here on Scoop City, for just handling the contracts well, right? Obviously outside of Lamar, which was spicy and a little dicey. They're really good at knowing and identifying the key players they want and are fabrics of their team. And he's certainly a cornerstone now on defense. So that was, I would call that one of a billion news bombs to drop on Wednesday afternoon. It has been bogus.
Yeah. It's been wild. Yeah. Oh, are you telling me a good organization does good business? Well, that's usually what we just casually say about the Ravens. How about this? This is a guy that's not going to be seeing the field for the first 6 games of the regular season. That is Kansas City Chiefs wide receiver Rashee Rice. He got his suspension handed down by the NFL. Diana, there won't be an appeal here because I believe it was negotiated, right? So we are at 6.
They agreed to it. So,
yeah, so we are at 6 for Rashee Rice. Thoughts?
Yeah, the Chiefs were aware, right? You're aware of that as well, that they knew this. And if you even just look at the way they have orchestrated and put together the roster, they obviously were planning for this to all happen. This is one of those little secrets in the league that everyone just kind of knew. And today it just officially came out. But what interests me, though, is the schedule. What does that look like, James?
Yeah, it's the return comes against the Raiders. This is what he misses in the first 6 games. That's Chargers, Eagles, Giants, Ravens, Jags, Lions. A lot of really good teams. 3 of them are in the NFC, which probably doesn't hurt you a ton in terms of the AFC side of things. But Ravens is a big one. Chargers in the division. But you want to kind of allude to your Denver Broncos after spending time with Sean Payton. They don't miss. He doesn't miss a game against the Denver Broncos.
No, he doesn't. I wanted to ask you this, actually, because I know you've spent so much time around the Chiefs.
Yeah, I got a second family in Kansas City.
Do you feel that this offseason or this summer headed into their season has been the quietest from a football perspective? You know, look, I get the Travis thing and we see the documentary, but the football stuff, I just feel like we were all over them last year, obviously trying to go for the 3-peat. And it's like,
that's a good point.
Now we're like, you're not going for anything. It's just not as electric as it normally is.
It's like a known thing. Like, I mean, if Patrick Mahomes is your quarterback, you will be playing in the AFC Championship game. You know why that's a known thing? Because it's happened every year he's been in the NFL. So, it's like, okay, well, let's just not talk about the Chiefs. They will be in the AFC Championship game. No, I think you're right, though. I think they have a chip on their shoulder from talking to people there, especially the way the Super Bowl went. I mean, it's one of the bigger bloodbaths we've seen in recent memory in a Super Bowl. So I think Patrick likes it this way. We're down to business. We're down to football. I think they could be better. I think this is the best division Patrick's ever gone against, though. I think the Raiders are better. I think the Broncos are really good. Yep. I think the Chargers are better. So I think it's going to be a fun division to watch, but I think they want to come out gangbusters. I really do. And they can't without Rashee Rice, who is literally, he is their number one. Like, I don't get it twisted. They believe he's a top 10 wide receiver, so that's a big loss. But they've prepared for this. They still have Marquise Hollywood Brown, who they had big plans for a year ago. They still have Xavier Worthy. They kept 8 receivers on their 53-man roster. They knew this was coming.
When the Taylor and Travis news broke, I got all the messages from my Swiftie friends, just like, they're just in heaven, as if like they're going to be invited. And my hoping I get invited. My husband sent me that meme of Taylor and Travis with Saquon hurling over them.
Go Eagles fans. Fly, Eagles, fly. He's all over it.
All I wrote back was just grow up. Like, I was slammed too. I had so much going on. And like, he's really good about like not bothering me, when it comes to.
That's worth bothering you.
He was in the kitchen. He was like 10 feet from me and he was giggling.
I do that. I send text to people that I'm in the room with. It's always a good way to sneak a little power move, make sure they understand what you're trying to get at.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, there's probably a lot of texting and phone calls, Diana, going back and forth between the Minnesota Vikings and the Carolina Panthers, because this is something that has been going on for some time. And finally, a deal gets done. Adam Thielen heading back home to the Vikings.
Yeah. So this was a roller coaster of events, meaning
Ooh.
It went from absolutely this is happening to both sides were far apart on what they could agree to in terms of what a trade would look like. Mm-hmm. The understanding was that Carolina really values Adam, obviously with Bryce Young there and that wide receiver room and the veteran leadership and all the things that we've talked about in the past and what you know of Adam Thielen being in the league as long as he has.
Oh yeah.
And the compensation was the holdup in terms of how the Panthers valued Adam Thielen, and of course,
you saw that, right? In the compensation.
How the Minnesota Vikings did. Just because that's what they agreed to isn't what it started off as you know, right? So essentially, for those that don't know the news or haven't seen it, it's essentially a 4-5 flip next year and a 5-7 flip this year. So it's like a net 5, right?
Which is, I mean, he's 35. He's in the last year of his deal. I think Carolina made out okay.
I think so too. But
yeah.
I think they went into this knowing that the Minnesota Vikings badly need a receiver. And
they approached the Panthers, so you already have a little bit of advantage.
Yeah, exactly. Dan Morgan wasn't calling teams.
Yeah.
Now, look, this being said, most general managers you talk to in football will say, everyone's available. Like, call us. Like, that's just how it works. But they weren't shopping Adam Thielen. He is part of what they thought was going to be this upcoming season. So knowing that Minnesota reached out, knowing the situation Minnesota is in on offense, I think they just started off with just a tough bargain, which is why I'm sure you saw, and even I had a little tone when we were talking about it on the show, that this may not happen, right? Like I could see this maybe not working out, even though Minnesota wanted it so badly. So earlier on Wednesday morning was when it started to shift a bit. And I almost want to say Carolina recognized that, okay, maybe the asking price was a little unfair or not even reasonable. And they were able to work this out. So now Adam Thielen, which I'm sure you've seen that adorable video of his daughter jumping up and down. We're going home. All of it that goes with it. So fun reunion.
Yeah.
Love it.
Super fun reunion. Spent 9 seasons with the Vikings. This is a great reunion. I know he was trying to get his wife to move to Charlotte, and she was, I'm still in love with Minnesota. So now they're heading back. I did see him during the Super Bowl, and I think he's kind of hinted to some people, like, this might be it. So if this is it, what a way to finish it. I want to put a little bow on this, though, and mention it from the Panthers side of things. I was told of people that were down there in the joint practices between the Texans and the Panthers, Thielen didn't really get a ball. And I'm not sure that feels great at his age and where he's at in his career. Not getting a whole lot of looks. I think they want him in that room. I think they want him for Bryce. But I also think at the same time, you're trying to quantify 2 first-round picks you made in Xavier Legette and Tet McMillan, right? 2 guys at the receiver spot. You want to get balls. You want to develop. Both those guys are good at some things and need to develop in some other things. It might be the most polite way to put it. And so maybe limited in what they can do a little bit within this offense. And they need to get those guys some touches. So I think there could have been some frustration and said maybe, a return back home wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Doesn't mean he wasn't valued, right? I think for the other receivers in the room that I'm mentioning, I think he has value. For Bryce, he certainly has value. If you've ever had a conversation with Adam Thielen, he had value as a reporter to me because he explains the game to you so well. And it's just a great person to talk to. But I am going to really look at this and go, I'm going to keep an eye on the Panthers passing game this year and see how these guys come along, because I think they need them to come along for sure.
Yeah. That is why I was surprised they wound up giving in the end to Minnesota, just knowing that they really want to take a step forward here. We all know what happened with Bryce last year and the up and down and trying to have consistent play out of him.
Yeah.
So, which is why I don't think this was easy for Carolina to do. But in the end, Minnesota has their guy. JJ McCarthy is going to get to know Adam Thielen even more now.
Even more so. When I have heard, I haven't This was reported. I don't know if it's true that they have thrown together in the offseason before. So we'll see. Maybe they know each other a little bit, and maybe they can build off of a nice little foundation of throwing.
You don't keep track of all the workouts that all these quarterbacks do?
No, because I feel like now throw with everybody. Like whatever city they're in and they know somebody's there, they throw with them. It's like,
serious. It's like,
doesn't matter what team they're on.
Like on Twitter, they're like, hey, come throw. Well, actually, I have seen players do that. Like, hey,
I'm throwing. I need some guys to catch. And it's like, hey, I'm in town. Diana, moving on. The New Orleans Saints have a starting quarterback. I don't think we'll spend a ton of time here because I think we all kind of knew where this was going. But I do want to ask you, do you think, and I never did any research on this, their entire quarterback room has never won an NFL game. Do you think that's ever happened going into a regular season? Where your whole
say that one more
room,
time?
the entire room, nobody's won a game in the NFL. Spencer Rattler played 6 games last year. He went 0-6. Tyler Shough is a rookie. He's obviously never played a game. Like, it's interesting, right? But Spencer Rattler gets the start. What did you hear? What are your thoughts on where Kellen Moore in his first year is starting this season?
It makes all the sense in the world to start with the guy who's got some familiarity. Coming out of the draft, we heard so much great stuff about this rookie. In fact, did you see his agent, Eric Burkhart, tweeted out like the 2 hands shaking? In other words, like, I'm down with the plan, right? Like,
yeah, we got a plan here.
He needs some time here. Needs to learn the NFL way. Needs to learn Kellen Moore. I have a lot of questions about what this team is going to look like. Kellen Moore here has,
I think, rightfully so.
He's got his hands full. The fact that we're starting the season here with Spencer Rattler as the starting quarterback, when a year ago it was Derek Carr, and it showed some hope and at times some really good offense, right? Like it wasn't always great, but at least they came out of the gate hot last year. So look, I think this is going to be one of those, we're going to be talking about them by October, saying that, they're not very good. So I think I'm interested to see, though, without Chase here, we usually love talking to Chase about the quarterback position specifically, but I wonder how quick New Orleans is going to be to play their rookie, to just see if Tyler's out there, what it looks like. Someone get a win. Someone. Are they going to go crazy when one of them wins?
Someone get their first win, their first NFL win. Listen, we've talked about these 2 guys a lot on this show, their birthdays, everything. I think the real question is which quarterback plays more games this season. That's more important, I think, to Kellen Moore and the Saints, which, remember, GM, head coach, ton of security, nobody's going anywhere. When does Tyler Shough now play? And I think you want the sample size to be big enough to where you get a real look at him, right? Is that 9 games? Is that 10 games? You want to know before you go into this 2026 draft, which I believe they have the worst Super Bowl odds of any team in football. So you could be picking number 1. You could be looking at all of these quarterbacks coming up in 2026. You want to know what you already have in your building. I think that's a big part of this. And I just did hear that his development came along, but he also was a rookie. There are really good moments. He can sling it, man. And there were some bad moments, but also some good moments came after bad moments. So you saw him bounce
and we
back.
Are a fan because he is a fan of Scoop City. He's a listener. So we are on the Spencer Rattler train until we don't think you're very good anymore.
Yeah. Well, it's not up to us. I think it's going to be up to Kellen Moore who's going to make that call. But I think they do. You mentioned the handshake. Think there is a plan in place for Tyler. Maybe this doesn't mean he's not ready to play in the NFL. Maybe just Spencer Rattler's better for this team week 1.
Like they drew it out though, right? Like they were like, oh, we're not going to tell you till later. We're just not like. They were doing this the whole
Jerry
time.
Jones of them. The Browns quarterback room, the starter's not in question. That's 40-year-old Joe Flacco. It's the 2 that are now behind him. There's no Kenny Pickett in the way. So now we have Dillon Gabriel and then Shedeur Sanders. Dillon will be the backup. Shedeur Sanders will be the emergency 3rd string, so he will have a uniform on, and it'll look crisp, I guarantee it. He'll have some primes on. He'll have some Dion shoes of his dad. He'll look phenomenal. Will he be used? Well, that'll be break glass in case of emergency. It has to be because of injuries. But no shocking turn of events here with these 2, but what are we looking for as this season kind of progresses now?
I think Chase kind of pointed it out last show, too. We spent a lot of time this summer talking about Shedeur because his name just was really breaking through. And I think there were a lot of question marks about his play and what Cleveland's plan was. And Chase said last show, this is probably the last time we're going to talk about Shedeur playing. And he said it so quickly. And I was listening back to it. And I'm like, he's right.
Is he?
I think Shedeur still needs time. And I think
100%.
the Browns have known that from the start. This isn't like the Browns drafted him in the 5th round and went, oh, wait.
Time to sabotage. Oh, no. I thought that's what they meant. I thought that's what you were going to say. Sources tell me.
No, and that's so not the situation. We've talked about it. We know, I think most sane human beings that cover and watch and love football know that Kevin Stefanski is not trying to ruin some quarterback's life who's actually superb and is Joe Burrow, but he doesn't want to show him off for whatever reasons. That's not the case. I just think that it's up to Kevin Stefanski to help continue to develop him. Like that to me is what I want to see from the Browns. Like he obviously has talent. He just needs to be coached and teached what it takes to be an NFL quarterback, because it's obvious he doesn't have those skill sets yet.
Exactly. And you need to develop those.
Correct.
Yeah, completely true. And listen, I just think when I said, is he ever going to see the field? To me, there's one less body in there. So Kenny Pickett's out. That's a benefit to both guys, but specifically, I think a benefit to Shedeur. The reps are now divided 3 ways instead of 4 in practice. That definitely helps his development in terms of growth. I'm not saying he's leapfrogging Dillon Gabriel anytime soon. If you talk to anybody in that organization, I don't think they think that's happening anytime soon. Dillon's just further ahead. I think that was a big part of the Kenny Pickett move, was that we're comfortable enough with Dillon Gabriel being 1 snap away week 1 from playing if something happens to Joe Flacco, and we're fine with it. And so I think that does show you how far he's come. You've seen the offense operate with him. He understands the speed. He understands the motion that's within this offense. 3rd downs, he converts them. But with Shedeur, I was just thinking, like, in my head, because that's the only place I think, you got a 40-year-old quarterback. The next guy is, well, how do I put it? Dillon Gabriel is not the biggest quarterback to play in the NFL. So that's just what's in front of you if you're Shedeur. Like,
there's also a joke there that you missed, but yeah. No, it's
you didn't even laugh at my joke of I think in my head, but that's fine.
Oh no, I laughed. I was actually thinking
on the inside.
Where else could you think if?
Yeah, right.
You think? Oh no, I was gonna say you think on your phone. That makes no sense. It's coming from your brain
heart,
still.
Diana. For a decision, you use your heart.
You know what? That is my problem. You put that. You summed it up perfectly. I do think with my heart too much.
Wow, that's why we love you at Scoop City.
But I think there's some hope that the opportunity will be there depending on how Joe Flacco fares. Okay, I talked to you about the Chiefs before. You know, kind of like, are they going to be good this year? We've been so obsessed with the Browns quarterback room that I'm not even sure how I feel about them as a team collectively. Like, obviously their defense is good. They've made improvements. They did decent stuff in the draft in building that up. But I still have question marks there, right? Their run game, they could use another receiver.
The run game, like, they don't have many running backs on the roster. Like, that's a thing. And by the way, remember I mentioned that the Saints have the worst Super Bowl odds in football? They actually are tied for the worst.
With the Browns.
With the Browns. Yeah.
Well, we've come full circle.
Yeah, we've really come full circle here.
Moving on.
Well, moving on means we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back, and we are going to pair up. Diana and I love television. We love a good TGIF. We'll get to that in a second. But pairing these 7 new head coaches with television shows, how do you marry them together? I'll tell you next on Scoop City. All right, welcome back to Scoop City. James Palmer with you with the Athletics senior NFL insider Dianna Russini. Our third counterpart, Chase Daniel, not with us today on a Wednesday. He joins us all the Mondays that we can take. And guess what? Sean Payton told a wonderful story about Chase to the Denver media this week, because this week is all about what happens in the NFL in terms of, Diana, a lot of people losing their jobs, which is, we need to humanize what's happening this week. It's a lot of guys may never play football again, but it's also a week full of interesting stories about how guys land in different spots, inspirational stories about how guys land in different spots. And Sean told this one to the Denver media.
We had one situation came up. Chase Daniel was at Washington. He'd been released and was getting ready to sign a practice squad agreement with Washington. We had talked with the agent. I think Chase, there was something about, I think he was maybe hoping if it was possible to come to us, but then there had to be some throw-ins. And at one point, I was on the phone with him, and he was just outside the head coach's office, and I said, just leave the building. And he said, well, I said, Chase, just leave the building. We'll get you to the active roster, at least 3 games, and you're going to be, and to his credit, he just left the building. And so that's harder to do.
Well, I'm so glad that Sean shared that story. He shared it on Scoop City last season. But I think it's one of those bizarre ones. Like, can you just, knowing Chase and how tightly wound he can be, I can only imagine what he was like taking the phone call. It also shows how shady some of this stuff can be. Was that kind of a shady story?
Yeah. But I mean, can you picture him he's wearing his probably his backpack, and he's like, you want me to do what? And you're in the facility of another team, and you're like, and he's just, he backtrack, just backpedal out of the building, nobody could see him. That stuff happens. That stuff happens with Sean. I mean, I know how we got Davis Webb to sign as their quarterback coach. He was in the car going back to the airport after his interview, and Sean had somebody intercept the car to tell him to come back to the facility and sign before he got on the airplane because he didn't want him interviewing with anybody else.
You never let them leave the building. That's
Sean,
the rule.
Sean's after it. Yeah.
Well, look, Chase's career took off after that. 5 years in New Orleans. Obviously, he was there when they won the Super Bowl, and a very solid 14-year career, I'd say.
Very much so. Very much so. And you know what? It ties in because Sean Payton is the new man in Denver now just a couple of years. And he's turned things around very, very quickly, making the postseason with his new quarterback in year 2, right? And so we want to talk about the 7 new head coaches this season, Dianna, and kind of what we expect them to do this year, what we've heard from their, from their camp about how things have gone leading into their first season. I want to recap real quick. 8 new head coaches a year ago. 2 of them made the postseason. 2 of them got fired after 1 year with Gerard Mayo and Antonio Pierce. And then Dan Quinn and Jim Harbaugh made it to the postseason, right? So we'll see. It's a varied group every year. You'd like to keep a job more than 1 year. So let's go through. And what we're going to do is we are going to pair up a television show that maybe best describes what the situation will be like with this head coach. I don't know if anything's from TGIF, but that was my heyday. I think it was yours as well. I sadly now think about it, did not pick anything from Family Matters or Full House or Dinosaurs.
Or Step by Step.
Step by Step, yeah.
Dinosaurs. Just
not the
imagine
mama.
trying to explain to kids today what Dinosaurs was.
It was insane. A bunch of people walking around in rubber suits. I think it was Jim Henson's design, but still.
But it was really funny.
It was hilarious. Earl was the dad. Wow,
what did the baby always say? I'm
not the
baby.
Mama. Yeah, he'd say not the mama, and hit the frying pan. Yeah, Robbie. There was an episode where Robbie got addicted to a plant.
By the way,
that show tried to tackle drug use in teens when they're all dressed up as dinosaurs in rubber suits.
Not trippy at all.
No.
By the way, this segment idea is not coming from some producer who's like, what would be funny? This is all James. This is James
this is me
showing up today going, you know what I want to do?
Yeah.
So James, take this away. I love this idea. New head coaches connected or having a correlation with maybe a television show from the past or the present that you think fits them perfectly. All right. So who's your first guy?
I'm going to start with Aaron Glenn.
Okay.
He's taking over this Jets organization. And I'm going to say this best describes the show Property Brothers. Have you ever watched Property Brothers? You ever watch HGTV?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
and what is Property Brothers? It's 2 guys coming in to rebuild a home. And I think that's Aaron Glenn, and I think it's Darren Muji. And I think what they've done is they've come into this home, a la the Jets, and they see a pretty good foundation, right? And what did they do with that foundation? They just secured it up. They said, we're going to re-sign Sauce. We're going to re-sign Garrett Wilson. We're going to show the rest of this house, our locker room, that we're going to take care of our own. We're going to do it early. I think that shows you where Darren Muji has been in the past and kind of how he thinks. And we're going to try to create a culture by building this foundation as Property Brothers. I'd like to see them in 2 belts and helmets if we could. And we may not be there yet, but we're going to do it the right way. And I think the bones of this house might be a little bit better than some people think. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. And I think the important part that you highlighted was it's not like Property Brothers. They just take
They don't rip it down to studs.
Piece of garbage,
yeah.
right? It's usually has something sweet about it, something
some good bones.
The bones,
good bones.
Good.
My wife lives on Zillow. That's how I know all these terms.
It's so true.
She's on Zillow.
I remember looking for a house description, and the bones was like one of those words. They're like, "Oh, they have good bones."
It's got
what
good
does
bones.
It even mean?
Yeah, I don't know
what does it even mean? My light switches don't work. I should have looked for better light switches, not good bones.
Light switches are at the bottom of your roster, Diana. It's got good bones.
But yeah, everything I hear about Aaron Glenn, and even being around him, he's definitely holding a really high standard for these players. And look, he is a player's coach, but he is a disciplinarian. He is tough. I mean, we saw him in Detroit.
It's a foreman, man. He's running a construction site. He's got to hold everybody accountable. You can't go past schedule.
Cannot. So I just think because of that, they are already going to be better than where they were because they obviously had some challenges over the last few years. And this isn't just a knock on Robert Saleh and all the replacements after that. It's just this organization needed somebody to grab it and go, this is how I want to do things. We don't know if that's the way to do it, right? This is the risk you always take with these coaches that want kind of control. It's the fact that he's going to do it and he's holding everyone accountable and he's holding himself accountable from what I hear. I just think this speaks volumes for a new direction for the Jets. Now we'll just see if Justin Fields can help them win some games. That's my question mark.
Yeah. We'll find out if you hire the right carpenter to build this house. But he did have, I think, a really good set of blueprints. All right, I'm going to move on to Brian Schottenheimer, who was already in the building. And I think, I mean, they were 7-10 last year. Let's just remember. But this is a dysfunctional family. And let's be honest, if you're watching Jerry's documentary, this is a family business. And we have dysfunction, and we need therapy, and we need to figure out how to manage all of this. This is Sopranos. And Brian Schottenheimer might be Dr. Melfi. And she's sitting there with Tony trying to figure out how to negotiate, how to navigate this entire season. Because the two things that I think of, and I want to get your entire take on this organization, is he's a people person, right? He's good at developing relationships. I think he has to manage George Pickens, which could be unbelievably beneficial because if you ask around the league, they think he talents through the roof. But can you get him, playing well and acting well? And then the Micah situation has obviously been a circus, and he has a really good relationship with Micah, to my understanding. This team could make the postseason. Like, it really could. What's your take on Brian Schottenheimer and what he's had to do so far? Because it's quite a bit on and off the field.
It's exactly why Jerry hired him. It's this type of personality.
Okay.
It's allowing him to just worry about the football in front of him, worry about coaching up the guys, worry about building up the relationships, and let Jerry be the show. Like this makes all the sense in the world. This is why I also believe that Jerry didn't go out and hire some big alpha or a hot name like Ben Johnson.
Okay.
Brian Schottenheimer has this ability almost to chameleon a bit, right? Like he can just shape to the environment he's in. And that's a strength, by the way. He's adaptable.
I can tell you meant that as a feather in his cap, honestly.
Yeah. And I think that's without a doubt a strong characteristic for someone that has to coach a team run by Jerry Jones at this point. So the football side to this, to me, gives me less panic, actually. It's it's the circus around it. It's the Micah, it's the rumors, it's the reports that I'm not even sure where they're coming from on some things. And just to recap, and I know we talk about it a lot on the show here, I continue to just hear the same thing about Micah Parsons, which is until Jerry wants to trade him, there's no trade. They will not trade him in their minds. Do I think there's people in that building that want to trade him? Yes. Yes. This is not like a unified stand where the Dallas Cowboys we will.
They don't really have a say.
No, the most important person doesn't want to do it. That's all that matters.
That's all that matters. Yeah. I agree with you too. I think this is maybe the best situation, right?
So I like your Sopranos.
Okay.
I get it. It's also a little Game of Thrones too there.
Oh,
right?
Okay. Yeah.
And then I was also thinking, like, what's a show that was really good I'm giving the Dallas Cowboys too much credit. I'm being really good, but they've been decent.
Good in the 90s.
In the 90s.
Yeah.
But, perfect. A 90s show that had a bad spinoff, Friends. Right?
Oh, okay.
Remember Joey?
Joey still got like 4 seasons somehow.
No.
I think it did.
No.
I don't know. Maybe
You know
3
what?
seasons?
I think you're right. They try to like sophisticate it. Like they try to like make it a little bit more drama driven. I think. But meanwhile, everyone just watched Joey to see the return of Rachel and Monica. They just wanted to see that, but
of
they
course,
didn't join.
Of course.
So, and this is not me. This isn't a knock on Shotty. This is just
he's Joey. Apparently, you think he's running the spinoff. I got 46 episodes of Joey. I'm told. How about that? That's unbelievable. That's a lot of episodes of Joey.
If Brian Schottenheimer gets 46 games,
pretty good.
He's doing really well.
That's pretty good.
I feel like we can now have a whole segment of how many Joey episodes is this coach getting. Yeah. That's what we should be
just
doing.
Spinning it. No, I put too much time into this thing. But to put a button on this, I just looked at, since 2021, Dak is 14-2 in the division. Like, and of all these guys, this guy has the most solidified quarterback of all of these openings. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens. And guess what? Sopranos was a great show, and it's my favorite show of all time. How about Ben Johnson takes over a 5-12 Chicago Bears team? Dianna, I don't have something for this. I was curious if you have something for this.
I mean, I didn't really stretch hard here. What about the show The Bear? Right?
Takes place
Everyone's
in Chicago.
watching it.
Yes, I watch
it's
it.
Chaotic. It's messy.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of like the Bears. Mm-hmm. But
a lot of pressure.
But there's so much heart and people that want to see this succeed.
Oh, I like it.
That's the space I'm putting Ben Johnson in right now for the Bear. Do you think
Ben Johnson is Carmi then, right? Ben Johnson's Carmi. He's the one who's come in. He's the one who's, a classically, professionally overseas French chef that comes in and is going to take all of these people that actually individually you might think are a little bit, I don't know, but put them together and, you get the whole thing rolling. But you just need somebody to put it all together, right? You need somebody to take all these ingredients and make it work at a really high level, like the Bear. And if they can make that restaurant work.
It was right there. It was right in front of me. It was
right
easy.
In front of you. Yeah, I like it. It was right there.
I took it.
Do you think Ben is able to do that in year one?
I do.
Because restaurants, guess what? They don't get as long shelf life.
I do.
Okay.
I think the soft launch went well. We'll call it, and we'll see what the grand opening is going to look like. But from what I hear and some of the conversations I've had with people that have been around it for the entire summer and off season, he knows what he's doing, which I know sounds funny to say that. Like, of course the guy knows what you would be surprised how many people are put in positions who have no idea what they're doing and somehow get these opportunities. Yeah. There's no question what we saw in Detroit and what he was able to do with Jared Goff and that offense was spectacular. He knows offenses well. The big question mark has always been, can he lead? Can he bring it all together? Can he break outside that OC minded way of doing things? Because they are very different jobs, being an offense coordinator and a head coach. Can you rise, right? And remember Brian Dable at one time, there was a lot of question marks about him. Is he just the wizard OC, or is he a great head coach? Sean McVay, is he just
Great
these
point.
are, I think we could call both of these, I'll call Sean McVay an absolute success story.
Yeah.
Brian, medium.
We'll see. Yeah.
Medium, right? That's fair. Yeah. This year is actually going to tell his story. I think this season, depending on when we see Jackson Dart. But back to Ben Johnson, I do think that I think he's got the right pieces. We'll just see if his team will follow.
Yeah, I love what you said about the OC thing, because I talked to some people about these guys just being like, you were a head coach, some guys that were head coaches and failed, and what they would do differently the second time around. And one of them said to me, they brought up Ben Johnson actually, and we're like, he is a guy that shuts the door in Detroit, comes up with the most unbelievable schemes and plays and grinds film. And that's Carmi working by himself late at night, coming up with these unbelievable dishes. But he's going to call plays. And there is no way, this coach told me, you can be the exact same type of play caller when you're the head coach. There's not enough hours in a day. It's just impossible.
There's too much on your,
Say it on your plate. It's right there from the Bear, Dianna. Say it. There's too much on your
plays.
Yeah, your portion sizes are just too big. So we'll see how Ben handles all that, but he has been putting all the ingredients together for this.
One thing I liked from afar on Ben Johnson's journey was his ability to understand where he was at and what he wanted in terms of coaching. Because if you remember, he'd had opportunities to be a head coach in years prior, and he turned those down to continue to grow and learn and experience, and I'm sure do more things with Dan Campbell to learn how to do that job. And look, he's going to take a lot from Dan Campbell. You know that. That's just how it works.
Yeah. You're always jotting notes down, just like we do.
Always
stealing from your head coach all the time. These guys are always working.
I cannot believe I wrote down a note about Trey Hendrickson's deal on a toilet roll.
I can believe you did that. I know you.
I wasn't, by the way, believe you did that. Just to clue you guys in, I sent James and our team a picture of my notes that I wrote on a piece of toilet paper roll, like on an actual roll that was on my counter, because I didn't have a piece of notebook. I was not going to the bathroom. I just felt like I had to make that clear.
Clarification needed.
I guess it's not a big deal though, right? If I was like, I was going to the bathroom and Trey Hendrickson signed his new deal. Like,
what are you going to schedule your bowel movements by the ongoings of agents and teams in this league? Come on now.
There are definitely insiders who probably do that. I won't name names.
I will later. Moving on to Vegas. Okay. Pete Carroll returns to the NFL. This is one of my favorite things of this season. I can't wait to see Pete bebopping and skit-scatting at 74 in week 2 back in the league. I think this is great. So I'm calling this, to my soap opera days, The Young and the Restless. Okay. There is a young group there. I mean, a really young team. They are a very young team, and they're going to rely on a couple of youngsters in Brock Bowers and Ashton Genty. That is the focal point of this offense. And when I say restless, they, from John Spytek to Tom Brady to the other, parts of this ownership group, they don't want this to be a rebuild that takes a long time. They think they can flip this pretty quick. And I mentioned Pete being 74. I think he wants to flip this thing pretty quick. So I think they're a little restless in how this is going. And I think you saw that from Christian Wilkins and what happened with how quickly they moved on there. And they're just putting this, trying to put this together as fast as possible. I just think it's going to be wild being in that division. You got Pete, and you got Jim Harbaugh, and you got Sean Payton, you got Andy Reid. But it's going to be fun, and it's going to be something we follow, I think, day in and day out, a la a soap opera that's on 5 days a week.
Which I don't even think people know what soap operas are. So for those listeners over the age of 60, I hope you miss your Young and Restless.
American novellas, then.
I like it.
Yeah, I like it. All right.
Let's start the comparisons now, right?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's do it. Well, Chip Kelly left my Ohio State Buckeyes, sadly, to go take that job. And speaking of Buckeyes, another one, bing, bang, boom, Mike Vrabel takes over the New England Patriots, another proud Ohio State Buckeye. They were 4-13 a year ago. Gerard Mayo, we mentioned at the top, he gets 1 year. Vrabel comes back, and I feel like this is cheers. I know it's low-hanging fruit. Boston, get it. But it's like where everybody knows your name. Everybody's coming back. Josh McDaniels is coming back. Vrabel's coming back. Everybody knows your name here. Everybody's familiar with each other. And we had a good thing going. And I think with bringing in some familiar faces, we can get a very long run as one of the most successful, franchises we've seen, or television shows, in recent memory. We did it already for 20 years. Can we do it again? Maybe they're the spinoff. Speaking of spinoffs, maybe they're Frasier. Frasier's maybe the most successful spinoff of all time.
Yeah,
and maybe this is Frasier.
A lot of Super Bowls.
Yeah, you were with him recently. What do you think?
There's a very obvious change in the New England Patriots in the way they carry themselves, the way they talk about themselves, the rules that have been implemented. It is obvious. It is Mike Vrabel's team, right? That is his strength without a doubt. The identity of what they are is clear. And it's going to look a lot like what we saw in Tennessee when he was the head coach. That is just how he builds up his rosters. And those are the kind of guys he likes. He's got a quarterback now, though. And this is no knock on Ryan Tannehill. But
I think they got the most out of Ryan Tannehill, right?
They did. That was Arthur Smith did a great job with Ryan, which is why Arthur Smith has had opportunities since, I believe, because of that 2019 year where they went to the AFC Championship game and lost to the Chiefs. So I think in this situation, it is obvious that the headline has been Mike Vrabel is the best thing for the New England Patriots. But I will continue to search for what the next big strength of the team is, because it's not apparent to me yet from watching them practice. And that doesn't mean I don't think they're good. I just think it's going to take another year. I think they try to get some play. You don't build a team up through free agency. And we've seen what their drafts have looked like. Our Patriots beat reporter, Chad Graff.
That's a great point. That's the point.
Chad Graff put out what these draft classes have looked like since like 2017. I think there's like 2 players on the team. Like, it's so bad. And so I just think Robert Kraft is going to probably have to be really patient, despite the fact that I bet you it's tempting to get excited because you watch them practice and you see Vrabel in the scrums and he's coming up with blood on his face.
Yeah.
He's like a Energizer bunny. He's bebopping and talking and running around the field all day, and the guys are bought in. So
big time.
I think it's just going to be hard for them when the result isn't going to be outstanding. But I think in Boston, they know. I think down on the ground, the fans get like, all right, we may have to wait a year or two.
I can see Vrabel owning a bar, by the way. I can see him being Sam Malone.
That's like a great 100%.
Call. Just a towel over the shoulder and just out there doing it.
With his own jerseys hanging up on the walls.
Yeah, I could definitely see it. But to me, my last point is we have to see what the Drake May, Josh McDaniels marriage is. I mean, Josh went on this pilgrimage, right, during his time off to go look at all these other offenses. And there's a lot put on the quarterback at the line of scrimmage, more so than a lot of other offenses in this league. What happens with Josh McDaniels and Drake May? I think that's a big part of this and a big part of how this goes. All right, let's push this along. Liam Coen down in Jacksonville, taking over a 4-13 Jaguars team. That's the first thing that popped in my head. And I've never even seen the show, but I know it exists. Married at first sight. It seems like this marriage is just like, we got to have it. Like, it's just getting thrown together and, man, let's cross our fingers and hope it works. Because we've talked in this show before, Chase, you and I, about like, is this it for Trevor Lawrence? How many more shots do we get? How many more cracks are there for him to go out there and see if he can turn around with another signal caller? And so I think it's kind of like, hey, we're going to put these two together and we're going to cross our fingers and hope it works.
Let's hope what he did with Baker, he can do for Trevor, and we can resurrect that career.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. And I know Liam Coen, from talking to people, is really excited about what Trevor's done. He's really coachable. Like, that's one thing that you have to say. Like, he is really coachable. He's really mentally and physically tough. Liam thinks he's that. Liam thinks he's it's starting to click for him. It's got to slow down for him. And Liam's putting a lot on his plate. And so we'll see if this works. Oh, and they also have like the super flashy Travis Hunter, playing both sides. That's must-see TV. It's must-see TV right there.
I like the Married at First. I've also not watched Married at First Sight, but I think that the title is perfect.
Okay. Yeah, I've never seen it. Okay. I think this is my last one.
It is. Kellen Moore.
Kellen Moore. We have Kellen Moore right here. For Kellen Moore, I have... I feel like this is Schitt's Creek. Okay? It's like... Do you remember how that show started? Like, nobody wanted it. Like, remember when this hiring cycle was happening, Diana, and you were making your calls? How many people were saying, like, I'm dying to have the Saints job? Right?
Yeah, no one.
Nobody really wanted it. And what ended up happening was, behind the scenes, when nobody was really watching the first season, they put together this show, and it was really good, and nobody paid attention, and it got better, and it got better, and then it got picked up. And then it became like this thing, even after it had already been out, where everybody goes, oh my God, like it was this slow burn. It was this, nobody wanted this show in the first place. They couldn't get distribution. They couldn't do all of these things. And all of a sudden it becomes like one of the most popular shows on television. Can Kellen Moore do that with the show, the Saints, that everybody was like, I think there's better jobs out there? Can he's going to be given some time. He certainly is. Like, that show was given time to become something in an age where there's just no patience for shows.
I really thought you were going in a different direction. I thought you were going with title.
Just exactly what it is. We're not even going to, we're going on surface level here, guys.
We don't have to go deep and explain the show, dude. This is just not.
You thought I was going to say Schitt's Creek and then just move on and just
that would have been great. Like Schitt's Creek.
Yeah.
He knows it. They know it. The owner knows it. This year is just not going to be great.
Yeah.
No. Look, I see what you did. If it turns out to be as successful as Schitt's Creek this series was, bravo, because at some point here, they want to see someone else besides Sean Payton have some success down there. And I do think Kellen Moore actually has the best shot of any of the coaches that we've seen since then.
Interesting. Yeah. I've talked to guys on his staff. They seem to really love the way Kellen's doing it in his first crack. They like his coaching style. He lets them coach, which is something that I think is kind of cool. He has his pillars of concepts, but he lets them in their room coach. And I think his staff likes it. And we'll see if everything kind of comes together. But I think there's some time to see if it comes together. And we'll see if it becomes Eugene Levy's Schitt's Creek. We got one more segment coming up, Dianna. We're going to fly through this closer. Right after the break, we're going to talk about the Scoop City newsletter that comes out. You're a big part of that newsletter. Well, the newsletter is going to be asking us a question. Which team picked in the top 10 this past NFL draft will have the biggest turnaround? Woohoo! Dianna and I each have a pick coming up. All right, let's close things out here on an episode of Scoop City here with senior NFL insider Dianna Russini from The Athletic. That's a lot of words, and I'm going to just say it every time. It's fine. Listen, we have a Scoop City newsletter, and Jacob Robinson does a great job on it. He's going to come on this show throughout the course of the season, Dianna. He's going to ask a question. He's going to pose a question to the two of us, and we're going to come up with whatever we find as the best answer to it. Here's the question.
What if I told you that there was an almost 100% chance one of the teams drafting in the top 8 this year are likely to win their division next year? Now, starting back in 2015, we saw a streak of 9 consecutive years where a team drafted in the top 8 ended up winning their division. That started with the Commanders, or the Washington Redskins as they were back in 2015, continued in 2016 with the Cowboys. We saw the Jags do the same thing in 2017, and that continued up until last year, when the Commanders and Chargers both made the playoffs, but they didn't win their respective divisions. Which team could start that streak up again this year? My guess is the Jaguars. If you look at the commonalities between the prior teams that did this, the prior 9 teams, they all had relatively new coaching staffs. They had a game-changing first-round talent that they drafted, and they had competent quarterback play. Now I want to turn it to the Scoop City podcast. Who do you guys think will be this year's turnaround team?
It's tremendous.
Love you, Jacob.
That's
such
tremendous.
A good job. Make sure you subscribe to the Scoop City newsletter. It's free, pops in your email, and I like it because Jacob writes it in such a digestible way, and it gives you everything you need to know in the NFL, and it's always got stuff in there that you remember, then you like go to dinner or grab drinks with a friend, and it like sticks in your head. I'm like, did you know that the Saints quarterback room doesn't have anyone who's ever won an NFL game? You know, he's got a lot of those really good little nuggets in there on top of all the news that we cover. So he's awesome. So
I read it.
I'm going to stay in the AFC South with him. I'm going against his pick of the Jags, and I'm going to go with the Titans. Okay. The Titans did a good job in both free agency and the draft here to build up their offense that was bottom of the run last year. They led all teams in turning the ball over as well last year. And I'm doing what the rest of the world has been doing, and I'm burying the lead, which is Cam Ward, right? And everything I've heard coming out of Tennessee.
Talk about him.
Exactly.
Nobody
Talk
does.
about him because nobody is. And I personally like it. Like, I think it's great because he's going to come out, I believe, in the first month, and we're going to say, well, we should have done a little less on whatever, dumb story we were working on. Their offensive line, they beefed up here in free agency with some veteran guys. So in terms of what this roster looks like this year compared to last year, I believe it's better. And I want to give Brian Callahan this season to turn it around. I think that first year was hard on him. I even talked to him at the Senior Bowl about that transition for him. And sometimes it just takes a little bit more time. I also don't think he had the easiest situation that he stepped into. A lot of change. He had to do a lot of things to make his own. And that's what I'm looking forward to this year. And I believe in it. I think they're going to win the division this year.
Listen, I don't have very good picks to go through here because he already took the Jags. You already took the Titans. That's a winnable division for both of those teams. If you go through the rest, do you think the Patriots are winning their division? No. Do you think the The Browns are winning their division. The Raiders, no. The Jets, no. The Panthers, no. The Saints, no. The Bears, I don't think so. I'm going to go out on a limb here. Because first I thought this was just who's going to have a really good turnaround. I didn't know you had to win the division. But I'm going to go with a division that never has a repeat winner. I'm going to go with the New York Football Giants. I know this is insane, and I don't think they're going to win the division. But I'm going to tell you this. I think we're going to have a very big turnaround in New York. I think this is going to be one of those teams, Dianna, that with that front seven and with the physicality they can play with, I think you're going to see a lot of teams that they play are going to lose their next game. You know, one of those teams, right? You got beat up by the Giants the previous week. That's possible with the way that front could play. I think they're far better than they were a season ago. And I also picked them because I wanted to throw in a little text I got this morning because somebody's watching Scoop City. And I believe it was an assistant general manager in the league, which I know it is, because I got a text that said, hey, make sure you tell Dianna that Jackson Dart is going to be a problem in the NFC East for years to come. I don't know why I wanted to tell you that. Maybe because it was a great social clip we put out. Nice job, Jeremy and company, between you and Chase talking about Jackson Dart and what we could expect with the New York Football Giants. But
yeah,
who knows?
I shared the controlled narrative.
Yes,
I shared let's not get excited. It's just preseason, but they like him. But I like this person that shared with you who's obviously watched some film of this guy.
Yeah,
and he likes
Scoop
him.
City.
Wait, did Chase just text you?
Scoop City. No. It wasn't Chase. Chase has not a lot of jobs. That's not one of them. But no, it was not Chase. Unless Chase got into my phone, changed the name, did some sort of...
He's good at tech. The guy's good at... He can fix anything.
Savvy.
I've had these moments in my house where, don't ask, but I don't know how to turn the television on. And I'm like, don't want to bother Kevin because that's a whole nother story. But I'm like, I'm just going to call Chase. Chase will fix this for me. But I never do. So I figure it out.
Figure it out. So no, I don't know if the Giants win. I just had to go with somebody that, that division never has a repeat winner. Just doesn't happen.
They're going to beat the Dallas Cowboys. They're going to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. They're going to beat the Washington Commanders. You're
and
adorable.
Daboll's going to win Coach of the Year.
Let's end on that note.
There we go. I love it.
That's going to be a fun take in 2 months.
Yeah.
But why not? You know
Why
what?
not?
Why? It's that time of year.
Listen, I didn't have great choices. Jacob and his devastatingly good-looking jawline put us in a box here, and this is what we had to go with.
Such a stud.
You did it. Yeah.
All right, cool.
Appreciate it, Jacob. Dianna, see you tomorrow.
Thanks for watching Scoop City. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. New episodes of Scoop City drop every Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday.